Okay, so I'm just setting up my screens so I can be able to go ahead and be lit up. So on this video, I want to go ahead and talk about this live video. I want to go ahead and talk about for the past 6 years, I've been documenting every hour of, you could say, my life in a composition book. Not really in a composition, but in this one specific, in multiple. I use multiple different composition books, but it's the same type of composition book, and I document every hour, actually every 30 minutes of my life. I'm documenting for the past 6 years, and I started it started as a challenge. There was nothing that when I started this challenge, there was nothing I could have really stuck with. Everything I tried to stick with, nothing was consistent. So I didn't have anything consistent in my life, and whenever I audited my life, I realized that it was there was a pattern, um, that I didn't. There was nothing that I could be able to go ahead and stick with it. And at that time, I started reading a book. Actually, one of those months was like to finish a book. When so I should say that I challenged myself for 1 year, for 1 month, every month of that 1 year, to create good habits. And one of those habits was me documenting. Um, and actually, through those times, see, this is where my live videos help me out because I just stumbled all over my words. I want to go ahead and just restart and and start all over because I just really stumbled all over my words. So I want to go ahead and kind of share with you. For the past 6 years, I've been documenting every hour of my life. Um, every line in that composition book is actually one line is 2 days. So every half a line, I split it in half, and that's 30 minutes. So that becomes the hour, and I've been documenting every hour for the past 6 years. When I started this documentation part, it was because I wanted to go ahead and have something consistent. I never had nothing consistent in my life up to that point. You could say I was consistent in stuff that was not very helpful. So therefore, I wanted to go ahead and adapt good habits. So that 1 year, I challenged myself the same way I'm challenging myself to be able to go ahead and go live. I challenged myself for that 1 year to obtain good habits, and that list varied from different items to like solving a Rubik's cube to completing a book. Well, one of those challenges, actually, I believe the first challenge was to be able to go ahead and document every hour. The goal for documenting every hour was to for me to be able to go ahead and start journaling, because journaling was something that I knew there was power behind it, but it was something I could never figure out, find the time to go ahead and journal. And it was almost like I had to journal for certain things, like in that certain item or certain tablet wouldn't be with me whenever I wanted to go ahead and journal. So it was very difficult for me to be able to go ahead and stay consistent with that. So to solve that, I decided to go ahead and solve that by documenting every hour. I told myself if I document every hour, that means I'm always going to have this 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 notebook. And sure enough, that's what happens. That's why this notebook already has kind of some kind of beating, is because I I carry it around. Now I don't take it out, but I used to always have that notebook with me. Um, and it was because of me I wanted to go ahead and create a habit for me to be able to go ahead and have that notebook. So therefore, it made it easier for me to be able to go ahead and start journaling. And yes, that was one of the benefits, but most importantly, one of the benefits that allowed me to be able to go ahead and obtain as soon as I started journaling was to be able to go ahead and understand where I was spending most of my time. So essentially, the reason why I started this challenge that 1 year was for me to be able to go ahead and try to figure out why was I still poor? Like, why was I still uh, poor is like a mentality. Why was I still in there was something I was missing. There was something I knew there was something I was missing. There was something I was missing. And so I challenged myself to be able to go ahead and just start becoming a better person. Um, and and one of the things was to be able to go ahead and document that. And not alone just documenting, I knew that if I was able to go ahead and stay consistent and just documenting every hour, I was able to go ahead and implement that same uh, discipline in other areas of my life. And sure enough, that is exactly what happened. I'm not going to say it happened instantly, because just managing the ability to go ahead and document every hour took some kind of effort. And then actually just keeping up to for the first, I want to say for the first 6 months, it was just mainly focused on trying to keep up with documenting every hour. After 6 months, it became a little bit more difficult, more easier, because it was much more of a habit that I had to always have the document that notebook with me. And once I was able to go ahead and establish how valuable having the notebook was with me, then I was able to go ahead and start relaxing, and it was able to go ahead and see the benefits of actually keeping that notebook. And I was able to go ahead and really quickly start implementing, I guess, the knowledge of me understanding. Look, the whole goal for me to be able to go ahead and have this notebook is so I can be able to go ahead and figure out how the heck to get out of the situation that I was in. It was just not in a very good path. So it was a way for me to be able to go ahead and stick with the plan. When I was documenting, I realized that I was being very truthful. I was documenting 1, 2, 3 hours of me just scrolling, me just being on the couch watching TV, binging Netflix. It was just the amount of time that I realized how much I was spending, I was wasting, just became very obvious. And it was almost I was ashamed of myself just to say that I didn't have the time to be able to go ahead and move forward or whatnot. But after doing that, I realized I was just throwing so much time away, not being productive. So I was able to go ahead and catch that right off the bat. Just by even implementing this documenting every hour, there's a lot of bad habits that I normally just dropped off because I was so focused in trying to make sure that, hey, I'm not doing anything. Just let me just make sure I document every hour. And that kind of triggered other little things while I was moving forward. And it helped me out because while I was documenting, I was able to go ahead and just make sure that I was on track of what I needed to go ahead and do. And then I knew that the longer I started keeping up with this, the longer I was able to go ahead and see the value of it. And now that I've been doing it for 6 years, I really do see a huge different change in just the person that I was before documenting, now that I am. There's just so much different places I've grown as far as a um just overall, because it just makes you realize a lot of little things, a lot of little details. And my goal for me to share this information is not necessarily me to tell someone to go ahead and just start doing what I'm doing, because I think it's very difficult. If I could have, I would have started sooner, but that was because that was the type of person I was. I was just not able to go ahead and focus and stick with nothing. So if I would have been able to go ahead and stick with this, documenting every hour, then I would have probably obtained different skills much more sooner. And it's just a different position. But I am so grateful that I started when I did. I'm so grateful where I'm at right now. And my message is to be able to go ahead and just allow yourself to be able to understand how much time you're being spent. This is probably a good tool. One of the things I want to go ahead and kind of share as well too is that I'm creating an application. This application has nothing related to this, but what I want to go ahead and implement on the application is pretty much the knowledge that I've obtained from gathering this. Like I told myself, okay, if I instead of so I started the documentation because I wanted to go ahead and have something firm that was with me, that I could be able to go ahead and stick with it, be consistent with it. And posting online and doing all this, it's a bit of a challenge to be consistent. So therefore, the entry, if I knew myself, it was very difficult for me to be able to go ahead and commit to something like that. But to be able to just document every hour, I mean, it was something that I was like, I could do that without a problem. I could do that 30 minutes before I go to sleep or something like that. But I realized it was a lot more difficult than that. Now I'm able to go ahead and kind of do that pretty quick because I've trained myself. But back then it was very difficult. So through all this time, I asked myself now that just having an application is very important. If I were to be able to go ahead and redo this again and have the ability to go ahead and have an application and go through this journey, I will most definitely do the application. The application that I'm doing is pretty much taking this information and putting and and create this application. So the application, my goal is to be able to architect it with AI. So when someone has, for example, I'm creating missions and goals. So if I have a mission, my mission is to be able to be at the sauna for a certain amount of time, and my goal is for clear health, mental. Then within the goal record, we could go ahead and submit different information. That information plus the task information gets submitted to the AI, and AI becomes almost a coach, and so that task now appears in application as the name plus a message that's personalized for the user that's submitting that. And that's something almost to keep someone in track and make sure things are being submitted, being accomplished. That's exactly the goal that I started with documenting every hour. My goal was to be able to be consistent and make sure I was able to go ahead and commit to something moving forward. And that was my way of some, this is my tool. So, but if I were to be able to recreate it, this application would have been my tool to be able to go ahead and make sure I'm able to go ahead and be consistent, because for one, the application is the developer's application. So therefore, the way I'm going to go ahead and create it is going to be almost a program that someone can be able to go ahead and click, go to the places from starting from Google, go to the places where you need to go ahead and go to, create the accounts that you need to go to, and just once you create it, you could be able to go ahead and start creating the application. And I give you all the functions that you could be able to just go ahead and copy and paste. And my goal is for that user or that student to be able to go ahead and understand how to develop the application, so then therefore they could be able to modify themselves. And once they're able to go ahead and modify themselves to fit their own needs, the basic understanding is there. Whether it's a task to the goal, it could be from contact to accounts, it could be from leads to the deals. So the same structure is still there. We could go ahead and just change it up, and you could implement that as a business. But if I'm able to go ahead and implement that as a personal level, because essentially that's what I started with being an architect, is a system architect, is by implementing the services on my own business and testing them out. So essentially, by me creating an application that a user could be able to go ahead and implement within themselves, that it's almost like an entry to this world of creating applications. So that's my goal, and that's just more on the line of development and keeping track and keeping data. That's one of the main lessons that I learned with me maintaining this documentation. The difficult part is this documentation is written. That was just because that was accessible to me. I could be able to go ahead and commit that at that time. But having this application, is more data driven, so therefore it's much more enjoyable in the sense that you could be able to go ahead and see the progression versus me seeing the progression in years. In application, you'll be able to go ahead and see the progressions within a couple of days just because of the data. And my goal is to be able to go ahead and have everything already uh, architect and set up, because essentially that's the biggest hurdle. It's very easy to go ahead and create this application and have it a very elaborate and very difficult and over exaggerated and very complicated. That's the easy part. The difficult part is creating a application that's able to go ahead and do all this, have these messages with chat with ChatGPT and with prompts, and have it very user friendly, that it's very simple and very clean. That's the challenging part. So I'm very excited to be able to go ahead and architect this application and pretty much share this with everyone. That's one of the challenges that I have with actually making these live videos, is for me to be able to go ahead and kind of refine the product, my product that I'm able to go ahead and offer. Because essentially it's always been my goal. I had to find tweak stuff. I first started with a family application. The family application is still holding very strong. But then I thought about, what about if I just develop a personal application, because that's something I want to go ahead and use for myself for certain things, such as like going to the sauna, plunging, a cold, go to the cold plunge, um, certain things like that, that are mission driven to for a goal. So hopefully this video was helpful. I'm going to go ahead and end this live. It was great speaking to you guys. Hopefully you guys can be able to join my journey. Have a wonderful day. Talk to you tomorrow. Bye bye.